Hello and welcome to Season 12, Episode 6 of the Data Governance Podcast. And today I am joined again by the lovely Jamie Knowles. I just love my conversations with him. He helps explain topics that, as a data governance person, I really feel like I ought to understand, but don't feel like I know enough about. And today he's going to talk to me all about AI and data modeling, which is a really interesting one, and a topic that I hadn't really thought much about, but I'm coming to the conclusion that we really need to understand this as data governance people. So let's dive in and see what Jamie has to say. Today's episode is brought to you by ER Studio, the trusted name in data modelling. Just like building a home, managing data architecture is impossible without a blueprint. ER Studio is your guide to clarity, collaboration and compliance. Built for data professionals, ER Studio provides the essential tools to visualise, document and manage your enterprise data. Visit erstudio.com to learn more how ER Studio integrates all your source systems, ensures governance at every level, streamlines data sharing across your organisation, and even automatically converts your logical data models into physical models. Hello and welcome back for another in the Data Governance Podcast. This week, I'm really thrilled that I'm joined once more by Jamie Knowles, the Product Director of ER Studio. I love my chats with you, Jamie, because you're so good at explaining things.
Pleasure to be here.
Things that I feel I ought to know at the moment, and therefore if I ought to know, then presumably my listeners do as well. So we're going to talk a bit about AI because, why not? Everybody's talking about AI these days. But I always love the fact that you get me thinking about things that perhaps I hadn't come across before. So I'm really looking forward to this. Now, I know you spend a lot of time talking to your customers. I'm being told an awful lot that AI is being used to generate insights from our company's data now. Somebody even at an event I was at yesterday was saying, I was really skeptical, but somebody put this, they anonymized it, they put the data in ChatGPT and it told them some amazing insights. So how does this really work in practice? Because it all just sounds a bit like, black box and a bit magical when people just go, oh, we just put it in and it gives us the insights. So what actually happens when people are using AI to do analysis?
Yeah, so definitely AI is all the rage at the moment, and I think it's growing. We're seeing a sort of a big sea change with our customers from sort of like the old days of would you put your credit card details into the internet? Oh no, and now look at us. I think we're going the same way with AI, and now anybody that is not using AI is going to get left behind. So yeah, I think there's a number of areas that we're seeing AI being used in the sort of world of analytics, data platforms, etc. So we're seeing a lot of BI tools now that are growing to include AI components. So in the old days, you'd create a report in your BI tool that pulls data from your warehouse and gives you some sort of nice layout of that data. Nowadays, we're seeing BI tools use AI in two different ways. There's natural language queries where you can sort of type a question and then it goes and sort of looks at all the data it has access to and gives you a sensible answer. And then we've got sort of scenarios where the AI will just look at the data all by itself and sort of look for signals and give you sort of insights on the data all by itself. So the BI tool area is a big use of AI. And we're seeing other products like Top Braid and Pool Party creating these things called knowledge graphs, where it just sort of goes and trawls all your data and tries to sort of connect all the pieces, the data points together and create this graph, this knowledge graph of data points, and so you can sort of see relationships between things. And I think then the sort of ultimate evolution is really where you get ChatGPT, a Copilot instance, just connect it to your data warehouse, and it just trawls the data and comes back with those insights and does all that sort of natural language queries, those signals all by itself. And I think that's where we're going. So they're probably the three areas we use AI, and I think we've got some challenges along the way.
So I would say, for somebody whose SQL coding skills are quite poor, uh, I would say in some part of me goes, oh, wow, this would be amazing. I can perhaps do some analysis that, my own coding skills won't let me do. I have to go and ask people nicely to do for me. But we always have that human context and insight we're doing things perhaps what we'd now consider the old-fashioned or traditional way of doing analytics. Is there not a danger that the AI doesn't actually know what that data is? It's guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we've got. And we've got to train the AI on what that data means. We've got to educate it a little bit.
And so from what you're saying, the data that people are using AI tools to actually interrogate now, is it still coming from our traditional sources?
I think that, yeah, that's the safest place. So, I mean, I guess the ultimate would be, yeah, we don't bother with all that sort of data warehouse,
Hmm.
lake house stuff. But I think we're a long way from just sort of connecting our AI to our operational systems. We've kind of got to prepare, refactor, cleanse, harmonize that data. So I think the data warehouse is still alive and valid. And we're seeing variants of that. So the data lakehouse, which is kind of pulling data from your data lake, all that semi-structured, all that JSON data we were talking about last week,
Hmm.
is coming into that lakehouse, all nicely cleansed and prepared, so that the AI can then trawl it. But again, we still need to teach the AI. It doesn't natively understand what are all these tables of data and these fields in the warehouse.
So yeah, it doesn't do away from perhaps all this understanding and classifying and cataloging our data that we've always had to do.
Not yet. We can't retire yet, Nicola.
Oh well, that's something. I kind of I really do get excited about AI. I am using AI to be more productive. I'm very careful about what I use it for. But I'm thinking from an analytics point of view, how we're talking now, it sounds like perhaps it could make analytics accessible to way more business users than currently. But are there risks that we need to be aware of if we do that?
Yeah, that's it. And I think we've all seen some of these things. I think the big one is hallucinations. We've all sat there having a good old chat with ChatGPT or Copilot, asking great questions. It comes back with amazing insights, and you can't take them verbatim. So there are the potential for hallucinations. The guy has two heads and six fingers. We've got to be careful of that. I think the other thing is, if the AI has access to all of your data, is there a potential for sensitive data leakage? So this is really what we as governance people need to be thinking about. So what being able to sort of classify all that data and make sure the AI is aware of that classification and who's entitled to that information. And then I think the last one is quality. So that goes back to our use of the data warehouse. We've got to make sure that we give the AI good quality data with good quality metadata that goes with it.
So it feels like, apart from the hallucinations, which are perhaps a new AI specific thing, actually the sensitive data leaks and the user making sure your data is good enough quality are actually issues and risks we've always had. Perhaps just AI makes them quicker, easier mistakes to make.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're absolutely right. There's no real difference between sort of the AI trawling your data and a bunch of humans trawling your data. Human beings have to understand what the data is and the nature of it and the policies and the rules around that data. So it's the same problem, but we just got to do it better in a form that the AI can ingest.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of, I'm glad you said that because that leads on to what was on the tip of my tongue to ask you next, which was, obviously I'm always coming at this from a data governance professional's point of view. So what do you think that data governance people can be doing to make AI safe and effective for analytics?
Yeah, great. So, as you say, same as what we're doing now, we've got to be able to define what that data means. So, train the AI with it. So, things like business glossaries, technical data dictionaries, the data catalog, great, all good stuff. That's what we need. All that's natural language, well defined, the vernacular of the organization. But I think the thing that is probably most important in this is the structure around it. And I think a lot of um, glossaries and data catalogs tend to sort of have lists of business terms. Great. We've got the definitions of those terms, the natural language, we've got the policies and rules around it. But what the AI really needs is that structure. So this is where the term ontology comes in. And ontology is those sort of concepts and data points arranged into a model. So what data is related to what. Taxonomies is really important. So understanding that we've got different types of things and what the difference is between them. So we might have something like the nature of a customer. So the having the AI understand that, yeah, we've got several different types of customers, the differences between them is really important. So it doesn't get confused. Things like insurance policies. Great. Most insurance companies will have many different insurance policies, very different things. What's the differences between them, the subtypes? So ontologies and taxonomies, I think, are absolutely vital. And I guess in order to build those, this is where your friendly data architect comes in. So this is what we do all day long. We create these beautiful data models of entities with attributes and relationships between them and taxonomies. That's what we do. We do that for the purpose of designing data assets. And we create those models in business language. It's a model of the business. So this is where the sort of harmonization, the connection between data stewards and data architects is especially valuable. Let's all come together and create that one single source of truth of what is the business, the information of this business, and then get a tool like ER Studio that will then allow you to communicate that to the AI.
So actually, yeah, kind of going one step further. I mean, obviously, I talk to a lot of data governance people who are kind of shouting quite loudly, "Hang on a minute, we've got to define our data before you start pointing AI at it." But actually, you're saying actually we've got to go even one step further. And I've always been a fan of data models, long before I met you, Jamie. But I think they are such valuable tools. But actually, you're saying actually data models can really help our AI to actually understand our data better and therefore give us better insights into it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So with ER Studio, we're looking at rendering those beautiful data models, all that rich metadata in forms that the AI can ingest, things like RDF files. So yeah, we've got to work together. But I mean, connecting with data architects, creating those models has always been valuable for data governance anyway. So I'm hoping everybody out there is already having those conversations with their data architects to understand the structure of your information.
Yeah, and I think that's perhaps I don't know because I think that um, AI makes it feel very simple to ask questions of data. And this is coming back to your natural language, isn't it? Queries that idiots like me can do. But it's our data isn't that simple and straightforward. So I kind of love the idea that actually the model will help the AI understand it and give us more accurate answers.
Exactly, exactly. And it's the only way to really support those natural language queries. And most of the BI tools are already taking in, they call it the semantic layer. So when you're generating a natural language query, hey, I want to understand how my B2B customers are doing these sorts of things. So that natural language has to correspond with the actual data. So a lot of BI tools now allow you to create a data model of the data sources that it's getting, all sort of documented with natural language. So again, someone's got to produce those models. So it really needs to come from the data governance, the data architecture team, sort of united in their descriptions.
Excellent. You said earlier about knowledge graphs, which took me a while to get my head around them. And, also I would come at things as to what data governance has got to do with it, kind of thing. But once I understood them, I realized how valuable they are. So you're saying that you kind of, are you saying you use data model then to build a knowledge graph that then or would the AI be building the knowledge graph for us?
It's a combination of the two. So there's products like Pool Party and Top Braid that will sort of go and trawl through your warehouse, your lake house, looking at all those data points, and then starts tying them together. So that's the first cut knowledge graph. And then we've kind of got then a canonical knowledge graph of the organization defined by the human beings. This is the accepted structure of the organization and the relationships between data points that we know about. So merging those two together then gives you a more accurate sort of end game knowledge graph.
Excellent. No, I've kind of, once I've got my head around knowledge graphs, I got really excited about how they could provide insights that you can't get from a traditional tables and columns kind of thing. So, yeah, so that it's almost like supercharged knowledge graphs by using them together.
Exactly, yeah. And then eventually we want to sort of tie it all together. We want that. I mean, eventually we want to end up with a single picture of the information of the organization that starts off with sort of the high level concepts all the way down to, hey, there's a thing called a Jamie Knowles and a thing called a Nicola Askham, and this is how they're related. So it all sort of ties together. So what we want is our sort of first of all, our data models, sort of training our AI to produce those first knowledge graphs. We want our business glossary to be sort of coming from the same place, and then we've got to close the loop as those things change. We'll sort of come back together, so as a closed loop. So we just end it with that one united single source truth of the for our data.
Excellent.
That's the vision.
I mean, it sounds so exciting, and I think I do think that the people in my profession have a bad job title because governance sounds like it's going to go around beating people up and telling people what they can't do. And I think I was hearing this at an event recently where people are frustrated because they feel that people shouldn't be using the rubbish data for data for AI, but we seem to be the bad guys, kind of thing. But is there a converse? Can AI help us do data governance, do you think?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So that sort of utopian view that we've got, great, but there's a lot of hard work to get there, and I think the AI can really help us along the way. So, I mean, within ER Studio, we're looking at tools to sort of help us, the AI to help us build these data models. So we've got little things like AI model builder where you can sort of just talk about your business and it will take all that sort of natural language text and create the data model, which you can then refine. So there's lots of things like that that we're working on. There's also mechanisms to help us classify our data. So those semantic layers that we give to our BI tools. So here is an understanding of the data warehouse that the BI tool is going to pull data from. Now, what does all that data mean? So we tie the technical model of the warehouse to that business model and the business glossary. So how do we connect those things together? And again, the AI can really help with that. Sort of connects business terms to tables and columns in the warehouse. So again, we're looking at tools like that. A lot of the data cataloging tools like Calibra and Purview are looking at these things as well. So the AI can really help us.
So yeah, because I always worry that AI is going to write the data definitions and tell us, we don't need humans. Whereas I always feel quite strong we need the humans for context. But what you're describing there is perhaps actually doing it just to do the boring, what some people would call the grunt work,
Heavy lifting, yeah.
to free up the humans' time, just to say, yes, that is what customer means, or that's not customer data, that's something else, kind of thing.
I think we're always going to need the humans to validate what the AI has done. So, as you say, the AI sort of does the heavy lifting, creates us that initial picture. Human beings have got to review that and then further refine it, and then approve it. And then things change. So the humans are always going to be involved in the decisions of how things are going to change. And then on top of that, with the policies, only the humans can really define and approve those final policies around the data.
Excellent. Well, it's always great talking to you, Jamie. And as you know, because you've been here once or twice before, I always like to end my podcast with a little bit of advice for the listeners. And it really feels I'm quite excited by what you're explaining about using AI to help with data modeling. So how would you advise people go away and how best to use AI to do that?
Yeah. So I think number one, we've got to get that well-defined, structured understanding of your organization's data in natural language, business language. That can be held as a data model, can be held in your business glossary, however it is, it doesn't matter, but get that well-defined structure. We can use the AI to help us get there. Okay. And then once we've got that, then get tools that can help you give that knowledge to the AI and off you go. And as usual, talk to your data architects.
Definitely. Yet another reason why the data governance and data architecture team should be best friends.
Exactly.
It was great as always talking to you, Jamie. Thank you for elaborating on another aspect that I clearly needed to know about but wasn't aware of. So thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having me.
much. It's lovely having you here. So that was really fascinating, wasn't it? And I think it was really quite interesting that Jamie was making the case both for having data models in place to help our AI be more successful, but also the fact that we could use AI to help us build data models in future. Because I really have always been a fan of data models and how valuable they are, but sometimes they just take a bit of effort to create. So actually being able to use an AI tool to help us speed that up, I can see would have tremendous value. So that's all for this week. I hope you will come back and join me here next week when we have a short bite-sized episode when I am going to look at why I think we need a simple data governance framework. I am not a fan of complex ones, so join me next week to find out more.